Hello YouTube, welcome to the channel. Now then, on today's video we're going to be looking at this bad boy. It's the Wltoys WL911-A. It takes over from the WL911. I'm not 100% sure what the differences are between this and the preceding model. I know that these are a different colourway and they've got lights in the bow, but I'm not sure if mechanically they're pretty much the same. Now if you didn't know that Wltoys make boats, they do. And they do make some nice RC boats as well at that. I mean, some of their brushless efforts they're quite nippy actually, but this is the smallest one I believe in the brushed range that they do. So we'll take it out of the box in a minute. I think it's on Banggood at the moment for 36 quid, which is about $42 US. So these things are cheap as chips. I mean, that's the thing about boats I have noticed, is that everything else seems to have gone up in price. Helicopters, planes, trucks, buggies, etc. But the boats seem to have remained pretty much at the same sort of price. And you do get a hell of a piece of kit for your money. I mean, 36 quid, $42, not a lot of money to spend. And I've got a feeling this little brush boat will be quite capable. I mean, they're not the fastest thing in the world, but you know, for the size, they're quite capable. Anyway, enough waffle. Let's get it out of the box and see what this thing is like. Right then, in the box we get our instructions for the boat. We get a little bag of bits. I think there's a USB battery charger in there. There's a screwdriver, what looks like a wheel wrench stroke spanner. That must be for the prop, and a spare prop as well. That's important. We get a little boat stand, which these things are invaluable. We get our transmitter, which is this fantastic Wltoys transmitter. I mean, this is only a cheap boat, don't forget, and you do get a decent transmitter. I mean, it looks as though it's got throttle, dual rate and steering trim on it as well. And these take 4 AA batteries, which you have to supply. And last but not least, we've got the actual little boat itself. And there she is. That looks like it's going fast, even though it's sat on the desk, I must admit. I mean, it's like a bloody arrowhead. It's not a massive boat. It's sort of their intermediate size, if you like, but it's not the smallest one they do. I mean, just for comparison, the one we tested before Christmas, I mean, there you go. So this is sort of, it's a small boat, but not a really, really small boat. What we'll do in a minute, I mean, it's a good looking piece of kit, I must admit. I would have liked to have seen a little rubber nose protector on it, because they always, they're worth the weight in gold, they are. But it's pretty much standard fare. I mean, rudder at the back, prop. There's a little bit of play in the prop. I'll have a look at that in a minute. Now, this thing has got lights on it, and I thought, you know, when I first got a boat with lights on, I thought it was a bit gimmicky. But it actually does make a massive difference because the thing's only small. When it's ripping around dark water, sometimes you can't always see them, and the lights really do make a massive difference. I think this thing has got a safety feature on it as well. If these little 2 contacts at the bottom of the hull or anything to go by, I think when this thing is placed in water, or until it's placed in water, you can't actually activate the throttle, which is a nice safety feature if you've got kids. Anyway, let's take the lid off and have a look underneath. Right then, now that the boat is on its stand, and now you can see why these things are invaluable, we can have a quick look around it. The rudder actually on this one sits bang smack in the middle of the prop, so I'll be interested to see what difference that makes to the turning circle of this thing. We've got 2 covers on this. We've got an outer cover, which we pull up like that, 2 waterproof covers, and an inner waterproof cover. Once we remove those, we can have a quick look inside the boat. We've got a little battery there, and it's only a little lithium ion unit, and basically, what is it, 7.4 volt. It says 800 milliamps. Nothing special. I mean, I bet you could fit a little LiPo in there at some point. We've got what looks like a little 370 motor, which is water cooled, which is always nice to see. I mean, water sucked up through that pipe there and ejected out the rear somewhere. There we can see that little sensor at the bottom of the hull there that stops the motor from running if it's out of the water. We've also got one there as well at the back, which is nice to see. So I suppose if it's upside down, you know, if kids do press the throttle, it's still not going to work. So that's a nice little feature. All the electronics are shoved right up the bow where you can't get them. So that'd be interesting if anything ever went wrong. And we've got a little micro steering servo, 5-wire probably, if it's Wltoys, at the back there doing the steering. Now, before we take this thing out on the water, I thought I'd do a bit of research and try and find out what the differences are between the 911 and the 911-A, and they're actually pretty significant, really, and it goes a lot deeper than just a different colour and the addition of lights. For a kick-off, the old version just had a single waterproof cover, whereas this new version has got an inner cover, waterproof cover as well. The old version used a battery in similar size to this. It's quite a large battery, and it sat quite high in the hull. Now, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing having a battery with half the capacity, but obviously it's going to save a little bit on weight, so it might make the boat a little bit quicker. It's the same voltage, but this battery is basically half the size, half the capacity, and sits well, basically further back in the hull towards the rear. Talking of which, we've also got a smaller, repositioned steering servo. So originally the servo on the 911 used to sit in the middle sort of thing, but it's been positioned towards the rear. So it's a smaller unit as well. So again, there might be a bit of weight saving there. And obviously we've got a different transmitter. We've got, in my opinion, a better transmitter than the one. The previous one was off the A959. So there are actually some significant differences between this and the previous model. Anyway, enough waffle. Let's go and try it. Right then, we're outside with the Wltoys boat. Perfect boating weather here in the UK. It's absolutely piddling it down. Just check the immersion feature on it, the little sensor underneath, and that's working fine. I mean, it doesn't allow you to have drive to the motor when the boat is out of water. As soon as you put it in the water, it must complete a circuit and away you go. Anyway, I'm going to do my best to film this. It's not a very nice day at all. But anyway, here goes. Tell you what, it's got some, you know, it's got a bit of go in it, because if it's just a little brushless motor, sorry, brush motor. Turning leaves a lot to be desired. It's got a massive turning circle. Look at the reverse, it almost pulls it underwater. I think we've got something stuck on the prop. Oh yeah. Right, this boat has no self-righting function, but it's supposed to be pretty easy to turn it over using the throttle. So let's give it a whirl. Oh yeah, dead easy, dead easy. Right then, the controller's beeping at us. That means that the boat's battery is low. We've got about, I say 10-12 minutes of run time out of this thing. Not nearly enough really, because I was just starting to enjoy myself. But while we're here, let's just put you down a minute. Let's just open the boat up and have a look if we've got any water inside, which is the all important bit. I'm going to say hopefully not, because of the two covers, but oh yeah, there we go. Bone dry in there, so no water in the boat. Motor feels cool, so the cooling system's doing its job. So no complaints there. Right then, back inside, what do we think of the Wltoys WL911-A? Now, before we get into the pros and cons, I just thought I'd mention I did make a little mistake earlier on in the video. I think I said that these two little prongs here for the rear sensor were like an immersion sensor. Well, they are, but they're not the same as the ones on the bottom. Obviously, the ones on the bottom stop the prop from spinning when it's not in the water, but the ones on the top have the opposite function. Is when it does go upside down, it does allow the motor to spin, otherwise you won't be able to self-right it. Right then, let's have some pros and cons, shall we? We'll start with the cons. The first of which I've got written down on my little list here is the battery life. Approximately 10-12 minutes. It's not long enough for me, really. I was just getting into it, and then obviously got the low battery alarm on the transmitter. Now, the next thing I've got written down on my list is the turning circle of this thing. Personally, I don't think it is as manoeuvrable as some of the other boats that I've tried. It's got quite a large turning circle, especially under power. And that was one thing that threw me off occasionally. I did sort of hit the bank once or twice because I forgot how wide the turning circle was. So manoeuvrability, I think, could be improved. And the last thing I've got written down on my list for the cons is there's no rubber nose protector with this. I mean, they're worth their weight in gold, especially if you, I can still consider myself a bit of a novice with regards to boats, and it did catch me out, like I said, a couple of times, the wide turning circle, and I did hit the bank a couple of times, and I have sort of scuffed and flattened the nose a little bit. So it would be nice if we got like a little rubber nose protector on it. Right then, let's have some pros, shall we? Now then, the first thing I've got written down on my list is the fact that this thing, for what it is reasonably quick. I mean, I know it's brushed and it's got a diminutive little battery in it, but despite that, it is quite entertaining. I mean, I'd like to try some little lipos in it, actually, see if we can get it going a little bit quicker, but from a speed point of view, I wasn't really that disappointed. The next thing I've got written down on my list is the price. I mean, 36 quid or just over $40 for an RC speedboat. I don't think it's a lot of money to spend. You could do a lot worse, and you do get what I think is a reasonable quality product. I did like the safety features on this. I mean, it's always good to have that little immersion sensor on the bottom. It does save everybody's fingers. The low battery alarm for the boat worked a treat, and the thing was bone dry inside, so no complaints there. And finally, probably the most important plus point was this thing was generally fun to use. I mean, even though the steering took a little bit of time to get used to, I was actually genuinely gutted when the battery ran out. So I was enjoying myself, so you can't put a price on that. As ever, there will be a link in the description to where you can get this boat from. If you're after a cheap boat to start with, then you could probably do a lot worse than one of these. If you found the video of some use and interest, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button. It makes a huge difference to the channel. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again very, very soon. Thank you.